What's up, Victoria? It's me, Victoria, and in my possession, I have a very beautiful collection of makeup that I want to talk about with you. It's Hannah Louise Poston's collection with Assault New York. If you are new to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe. This is a little bit of a different kind of video for me. I'm going to be doing a lot of swatching, which is not something I like to do. I put myself through it for you. Make sure you check out my pinned comment. Down there will be links to support very important causes. If you have the means to support those people, please do. At the top of the video, I would just like to say a couple of things. Hannah is my friend, so I'm going to have an inherent bias towards this. I'm not super familiar with Assault New York products, so there's going to be some questions I don't have the answers to. This is really just to show you the products and swatch some other things next to it that people may have in their collection already, or just to get a better understanding of what these colors look like next to some other colors. And finally, this is mostly like a first impressions of some of these colors. I just got these in the mail yesterday. I just put them on my face for the first time today, so I can't speak to like longevity or anything else like that. What I'm hoping that you get out of this is to see colors next to other colors, to be able to better make a decision of which colors may be correct for you if you are choosing to purchase this collection. I'm not really here to try to sell this to you. I'm mostly here to try to answer color questions and whatever. That's kind of the vibe of what this video is. I have tried Assault New York products in the past. There is a specific thing that Hannah said in her video that I think people are looking to see if that is true from other content creators, and that is whether or not this formula is sturdier, a little bit thicker, not as melty or as emollient as the previous formulas. I don't really know. I tried Assault New York, I think now 2 years ago. At the time, it wasn't super for me, and it was down to a color thing and a coverage thing, and yeah, it just didn't vibe well with where I was at. So I'm excited to try Assault New York again and try some other things. This collection is just a little bit different, so just know that anything I say is going to be directly related to this collection. According to Hannah in her video, this will be a limited edition collection. You can buy these pieces as singles. I do have the two lightest quads, so the light and the medium. These were sent to me in PR through Hannah and the brand. So thank you, Hannah and Assault New York, for sending these to me. I think that's kind of all of the disclaimers that I have to say. Oh, Hannah does have a promo code. I don't have a promo code with Assault New York. Her promo code is Hannah Louise. So if you are purchasing, just use that one. You don't need to use my code on her collection. I don't even have one. So even though I've tried Assault New York before, I have not tried this. I've never held one of these in my hand, and it is so incredibly luxurious feeling. It's incredibly sturdy in the hands. Its zippers shut. It does all the things that you would want something like this to do. Now this I think is maybe bulky for some, depending on what you're looking for, but to me it just definitely feels incredibly nice in the hand. And then when you open it up, you do have a little mirror in here, and then it can hold 4 Assault New York products. I haven't tried putting other products in here to see how many eyeshadows it would hold or whatever. I don't really know that anyone's looking to me to answer that question for them. And the only interesting thing about this component is it's not on a hinge. I really like interacting with these, even outside of the realm of purchasing from Assault New York. I like the way that this feels a lot. It feels very clean. I like that it's black because then you can just easily wipe it off. It's not going to get stained. I really like these. Let's get into the lighter of the two quads. Let us start with Old Gum. Now, Old Gum is a color that Hannah has been looking for a very long time. I am desaturated, but I am not olive. I don't have an olive undertone. My undertone is more pink, but mostly neutral. Anything with a lot of gray in it tends to really work for me. So when Hannah was first conceiving of the concept of Old Gum being a blush shade, I was I understand. I'm right on board. There was a year or so of me on this YouTube channel trying to find a grayish pink color for blush, because I too suffer from this affliction of everything feeling very, very saturated. I do sometimes really like really bright, punchy makeup. This collection, I think, is really truly solving a problem that I think that some people do have. And I happen to be one of those people. I think I, as someone who's in this space, have been able to find things that really work for me, and also use things that maybe aren't designed to be a blush or a contour or a bronzer, and make them work for me as a different step, and looks really beautiful and compelling as that different step of makeup. And I also feel that when we're talking about makeup in this space, like in the online beauty space, it's like I'm probably more familiar with different brands than people who shop at makeup stores. Like I don't know that people who only know of Sephora and Ulta would have ever come across Salt New York. But like a lot of the colors that we are looking for when we're talking about desaturation tend to be in indie brands or like in the Asian market seems to be where we find this kind of color palette usually. And so I'm just really excited that there's like a lot of options for people and a lot of different depths. So Old Gum is the first one, and I'm just excited that it exists. I will say, and Hannah does also acknowledge this in the video, this is Old Gum right here, that it looks different than she thought it would look. Like whenever it came to fruition. I thought it would look a little more like Condensate from PHYTOSURGENCE or Plume from PHYTOSURGENCE, but this is definitely a different tone. I would say as I was trying all of these shades on my face earlier today, I was finding them looking quite bruisey, which is a look that I really like. And I do think Old Gum does look very bruisey on the cheek, but it's kind of like the lightest version of it. We'll get into some other colors here that I feel like are a darker bruisey tone. And I really just like that. And you'll see that with the other shades that I kind of compare it to. But Old Gum, I will say when I was using a brush to apply it, it took a lot of building up to even get to an opacity where I felt like I could truly see it. And then I also feel like because it took so much to apply to get to an opacity that I liked, it did like look really glossy on the cheek, which I'm not like opposed to, but it's just something to know. Like if you're layering it up and up and up, like that finish, that more like balmy finish is gonna come through on the cheek. So just something to keep in mind. I did find that when I applied it with my finger, I got more opacity and I didn't have to like build it up as much. I believe that these were designed to be very skin native and mostly undetectable. And I will say like it's my experience with it. I like my blush, I think, to like show up with a little bit more impact. So desaturated, but maybe more pigment load. So that's just like my first thing that I noticed is like, I think I would like something with like a little more oomph. What we'll find in the medium complexion one is that kind of resolves it. So far in my playing with these and trying them out, I have much preferred playing with like the medium shades in the medium quad other than the highlighter. Those are just like shades that I think I would wear more. And I was watching Hannah's launch video this morning when I was getting ready and doing a bunch of stuff for this video. Watching the video kind of put into perspective, especially after I had like swatched a bunch of stuff. What it really put into perspective for me is that I think I like the medium deeper shades. So I kind of wish I would have gotten like the deeper blushes, but I didn't pick them. That's on me. And you know, this is all very generous for Salt New York to have sent to me. So I'm feeling very grateful, but it's like, now I'm like, should I go buy the deeper shades? We'll see. I still need to like do some wear testing to see how they wear on my skin throughout the day, see how much they fade, if they fade. I don't have the answers to those questions quite yet. But Old Gum, I think, it's a little different than what I was expecting, but I'm really happy that Hannah was able to make her dream shade come to life. In the swatches against some other things, I really do think I prefer both Condensate and Plume to this shade, but they are all quite close. But if you find that the PHYTOSURGENCE blushes don't work for you, or that they are too pigmented and you have trouble controlling them, this Old Gum shade might be a very good option for you to try. And I did try all of these on my lips just to swatch them. I'm not a real lip cheek person. Really, if it's in a pan like this, I'm going to use it on my cheeks. To me, putting this kind of product on my lips is very fussy. And even if it was like a blush stick or kind of thing, I still wouldn't use it like that. With the lip applications, I noticed very little difference when I was putting them on my lips, but they did feel comfortable on my lips. They felt like they were meant to be on my lips. I just wouldn't use them on my lips. It's just not my style of like a makeup wearer. But Old Gum's very cool. I'm happy it exists. I don't think that I personally would have bought Old Gum. Like, I don't think that would have been the shade that called to my heart after seeing all of them. The next shade we will talk about is the shade Teasel, which is right here. Teasel is, well, very interesting. I felt like I couldn't find anything in my makeup collection to really like compare to it. These brownier shades were a little bit harder for me to like find other things like, because they are quite unique. I will say they are a little bit warmer on my skin than I was expecting, but that might just be due to like my undertones being different than other people's undertones. I don't think that they pulled orange, because I do swatch some orange products next to it, or products that I thought were more neutral next to these shades, and they pulled so much more orange than this shade does. So it definitely is like a kind of like a dulled down brown, but I don't get that like milk chocolate look. That is the way that Hannah kind of described the more milky brownie shades. That's not what I really get with it. I kind of get something that like is like a bruisey camel color. And I've been talking a lot about like the camel color recently. I really like that color. I just don't find that it flatters my skin tone a ton, but I like it and I want to wear it. Like I really, really want to. So I really like this shade, but again, kind of with like Old Gum, I just preferred the brownie color in the medium palette as opposed to this one, but I think it's still really pretty. Again, I think I just am looking for a little more pigment in my blushes than the lighter shades provide, but as like a nice little hint on the cheek, I really like it. In the swatch footage where I'm applying it to demo to you, I'm applying a lot more blush than I would usually wear. And I also just think sometimes when it comes down to like technique or whatever, sometimes I think whenever we're talking about pigmentation and blendability, I think there's also a matter of how much product you pick up on your brush or your finger that can really change your experience with a product. I do think that a lot of people are using more product than they really need to. I will take a cream blush, I will get it on my brush, and I will like put it on the back of my hand and like get most of the product off before I start tapping on my skin. I found that that allows me to be able to really control how much color I'm applying to the skin a lot better than just like getting it on the brush and immediately putting on my face. This, I feel like kind of solves that problem where you can just kind of really throw it on and you can go about your day without having to worry about how much product you're picking up. For me to get the opacity I want from like this shade in Old Gum just requires more building up than I'm accustomed to, which I think is going to be really good for, I'm not calling that a negative thing. I just think that's going to be really good for people, especially people who have very, very fair skin. And I mean, I have fair skin, but there are definitely people who are lighter than me. And I think will get exactly the amount of pigment they want from these light shades. And the last blushy cheek shade in this palette is Waxwing. This one is like the more purpley option, and in both palettes, I just love the more purpley option. I love a purple bruisey cheek shade, and you'll find that in the swatches, I think, when we get to the shade Aniseed, which is, I think, my favorite shade that I got to try in all of these. Like, it was the first one I put on and I said, oof, that one's for me, honey. I really like this purpley color. I think it's really beautiful. Of the shades in the light palette, I think it is my favorite shade. I think that purple just really reads well on my skin. There's just something about my undertone. You put that purple color on my skin and my skin just like really, you know, like just like makes my skin look so good. Like my color just really takes to that. Sometimes I can go pretty heavy handed with like a bruisey color like this. So having an option that I can just like tap onto my skin and like move along with my day is a really good option for me. This is a case where that lighter pigmentation is a real benefit to me. Of the three blush shades in the lighter one, if you tend to like blush colors that I like, I would say that Waxwing would be probably the one that you would like the most. If you also are very, very fair and also very desaturated, like I think you would be very happy with any of the blush shades as long as they sing to you. And lastly in the palette is the highlighter shade. This is the shade Nimue. I have tried the other highlighter formula. I remember kind of liking their highlighter formula, but I remember just like not like loving the color. When it comes to highlighter, I'm looking for like a specific thing, and I actually think that this provides it. So I'm wearing Nimue on my cheek in this footage right here, and I really like the way it looks in the finish of it on my skin. But I definitely have some formulas that don't really feel like it texturally in the pan, but I feel like texturally on the skin look quite like this. I mean, it's a shiny thing on the cheek, but there's a specific kind of like wet look vibe to this without shimmer particle in it. And I do think that's like quite unique. I love a highlighter whenever you like, when you're looking from a front, it's like, okay, they look really done up, but then you turn your cheek and it's like, ooh, highlight. And it looks like really healthy and glowy and dewy on the skin. I quite like it. There's a little bit of a base pigment in these highlighters, which I wasn't really expecting, I guess. What it reminded me the most of in my makeup collection is the shade, and it's specific to the shade. It's the Gucci highlighter in the shade Opal Pink. It has this like beigey base, and then it like has like this, I don't know, it just looks very similar to this on my cheek, but I think that this formula is much easier to use than the Gucci formula. I know that a lot of people don't really like that Gucci highlighter formula. I tend to get along with it quite well, but it reminds me a lot of that. And I thought that they were actually going to look a lot more alike when I swatched them next to each other, but Opal Pink pulled very warm on me, whereas this reads a little more neutral on my skin than Opal Pink does. This cream formula of all 4 shades is maybe kind of like the balmiest formula I have. Everything else I like swatched compared to these formulas had a lot more body to them than these do. And like they didn't melt as quickly when my finger touched them. I had to warm those ones up a little bit more to be able to pick them up on the back of my hand. If you don't really like those sturdier cream formulas, you probably will like these. These are very like lightweight and balmy and they like instantly melt on your finger, instant application. So if that's what you're into, that's how these formulas feel to me. Even if they are like a more sturdy version of the Salt New York formula, they are still kind of like the balmiest kind of complexion product I have in my hands right now. But this highlighter is really pretty. I would love to spend some more time like layering it underneath things. I think it's really pretty. In the pan, I don't think it looks special. I think in a thick swatch, I also don't think it looks special. I think this is something, as soon as you get it on your skin, it makes a lot more sense of what it's going to be, because it doesn't even like look like it has a base pigment on my cheek, because it's not as thick of a swatch as I would to show you the color. And I think it's really important to see people actually put this on their cheek to see what it looks like on their skin. You're not going to wear blush and highlight the same way or as much as someone who's trying to put a thick swatch on their arm to just show you the color, because you need to really build something up on your arm to really like see what it will look like color wise against other things, because highlight's already kind of like hard to see. It's just reflection. But I don't know. I'm really kind of obsessed with this. When I swatched it against all of the other highlighters to try to like find similar formulas, I really liked it. It felt very special and unique to all of the other highlighters that I have. It was way more special putting it on my face than it was swatching it compared to all of the other highlighters. If you're looking for like a new highlighter with this kind of finish, I think Nimue is a gorgeous one, especially if you have fair skin. It's very stunning. I would also say for other formulas that give a similar finish on the cheek are the HINDASH formula, but that's a baked powder formula, and then also the Rare Light Luminizers from Rituel de Fille. Specifically that formula, they have a couple highlighter formulas, but the Rare Light Luminizer, they kind of do that thing where you turn your face and you kind of get this beautiful thing. And if you are into more ethereal colors, Rituel de Fille will have something a little more ethereal than the ones in Hannah's collection. So that's just like an alternative, and kind of like Hannah kind of reverse engineered them, it sounds like, where she was like, I really like that duochrome ethereal look, but I'm gonna try to like rein it in and make it with more wearable colors. And I think that she really achieved that. I really think it's beautiful. Let's move on to the medium palette, and let's just stick with the highlighters. So this is the shade Sebile. This is way too golden for my skin tone. However, when I did apply it to the cheek, I applied it with a brush and it got a very light application of it. So it was still wearable on my skin. I did build it up a lot in that swatch footage and that cheek application footage, just to see how much I could build it. But it did eventually start leaving a cast after like the third pass, like at my third dip into the highlighter to put on my cheek. It kind of became pigmented enough where you could kind of see the base pigment and it just like didn't look as organic on my skin. But I do think if I just left it at one swipe, which is what I would do if I was wearing my makeup and not trying to display the color for you on camera, I could get away with it. I wouldn't choose this highlighter color over a lot of my highlighter colors. It's just a little too golden for me. I don't wear a lot of like gold jewelry. I don't wear a lot of gold. I don't do a lot of gold looks. I really haven't checked out other people's content about this because I'm like trying to hold my opinions my own, but I do want to see this on other people because I think it'll be really beautiful. I don't have a lot of highlighter colors close to this, so I can't really say anything because I just wouldn't be attracted to this kind of highlighter color. So let's just quickly move along to the blush shades or the color pigments. This is the shade Oyster Pearl, which I think is like such a strange when Hannah sent me the names of the blushes before the launch, and she was like, do these names look okay? And I was just like, Oyster Fig's kind of a weird name, but that was the only one that I felt was weird. Hearing her describe it in her video clarified a lot of things. So this is like the medium old gum, and I do find this one a lot more compelling to wear. I like how when I put it on my cheek, it's just kind of like immediately there. And compared to Old Gum, I found this shade to be really hard to find anything close to it. And of course, the comparisons I made to Old Gum, they weren't exact dupes, but they were pretty close to what Old Gum was offering. I don't have like a singular blush or anything in my makeup collection that's even close. In the swatch comparison footage, I like pulled out some things that had similar vibes, and I pulled out contour shades. So there's this blush from the brand Excel, which is a J Beauty brand. It's their shade number 4 and like their one blush. I will link that blush down below because I have a feeling that some of you might be interested in it. So that and Grisaille from SURRATT, which is like their contour shade. And they have that like beiginess to it, that bruisey quality, but they're pretty fair. If they were amped up and there was like a little bit more, I think they would look closer to Oyster Pearl. It's a very unique shade and I really like it. And it's just like, it's like the version, it's just, I love it. I think it's a really beautiful shade. And I love that it feels really unique compared to a lot of the things in my makeup collection, because Hannah and I do have pretty similar tastes when it comes to like cheek colors. We're different in the way where like I will put bronzer on, or well, I don't know, she's a bronzer girly now, but she used to, or kind of often will do like highlighter in one cheek color. I like to do, you know, my Neapolitan. Even if the colors aren't Neapolitan, I like doing the bronzer blush highlight situation. I love that that felt incredibly unique in my makeup collection. The brown in the medium palette is called Orchid, and this color is much more camel than the lighter version. And I did find some colors that like felt similarly to it whenever I was like looking through my makeup collection to try to find dupes. So the Suede in the Suede and Sable duo from WESTMAN Atelier has that kind of camel feel, but it's not as desaturated. There is like more yellow in that, and so it kind of appears more vibrant. But I do think if I were to like put them both on my cheek, even though the WESTMAN Atelier one would be matte, I think that they would read pretty similarly on the cheek. I also swatched it next to Mimi, which looks absolutely just straight up orange next to this shade. It looks absolutely orange next to Orchid, which is so funny because Mimi, when I put it on, I feel like is like a nice poppy pink skin native kind of color to me. But like seeing it next to Orchid, I was like, okay, so it's like completely almost neon orange, which is, it's really wild. I wouldn't even describe Mimi as an orange shade. I would describe it as like a warm pink, but like it almost looks like a bright coral. It just like kind of looked like that when I swatched it next to Orchid. It was really crazy. I will say the brown shades are my least favorite shades in both palettes, but I think this is a really interesting shade. Even though I swatched some things that I felt like had vibes, they were not quite exactly that. I did also like Orchid better than I liked Teasel. Whenever I think of Orchid, it's like, I don't know what the rest of my makeup would look like if I put that on my face. So I'm excited to play with it. Again, this is just kind of like first impressions. We're vibing out. We're doing a swatch party. We're just having a great time. I think Orchid's really special, but also challenging in my mind. I think this is my favorite shade in the whole collection. The last one here is the shade Aniseed. Be Still My Heart. This is like the shade that like stole the show for me. It is so scrumptious and sumptuous. It's like the perfect bruisey cheek. It's just so much more gray than my other purple gray colors. I think the thing that it's most similar to in vibes is the Chanel Beige Mauve shade that came out a couple of years ago that was limited edition. I love that shade. I love that shade, but this like just turns the volume, like it just changes it a little bit. This Aniseed shade is just like, ugh, like what's going on? I also swatched it next to Garçon from WESTMAN Atelier, and Garçon is definitely like, it has like more pigment to it. Similar vibes. I love that, again, that bruisey kind of bruisey cheeks. I also swatched it against Cult Classic from Trixie Cosmetics. Also a blush that has a lot of bruisey qualities to it. That's like a matte, gross brown purple color that has like this silver sheen in it. It's like so gorgeous. This just is like in line with like the blushes that I like to wear the most. It's just like, it's like perfect shade of blush for me. I really, really, really like it. That's all the shades swatched, applied on the lips with some swatch comparisons. I guess I'll just give you my kind of like initial thoughts and impressions or suggestions to you. If you like bruisey cheeks like me, I would stick to the more purple shades. I would stick to Aniseed, and if you have even more fair skin or looking for something that has a little less pigment, you could do Waxwing. I do agree with what Hannah said. Picking the highlight for your skin depth is probably the way to go. I think Nimue is really gorgeous this, and I don't really have a purpose for sebile, but it is a really beautiful color, and I can't wait to gift it and pass it on to someone who will really love that more than me. I am curious about the longevity of the shades on my face. I know that Hannah's lifestyle is kind of like quick, easy go, and that's what Salt New York is kind of also their vibe. And I just, you know, there are other brands that have a similar vibe, and I just feel like their blush colors tend to fade pretty quickly. I do have aniseed on my cheek right now, but it's like a very light application of it, but I can still see it. Sometimes on camera, I feel like I can get a little bit washed out with all the lights. And also, sometimes I do my makeup for real life, even though I'm on camera. More is better, usually when you're on camera. I just did my makeup for me IRL, so I hope you don't mind. It's just not a super thick application. So I'm curious about the longevity. That's like my next question. So I'm excited to continue playing with these. And I think maybe that's it. For me personally, my recommendations and to my preference is like, I like the 3 middle blush shades. I prefer them. So it all really depends on how your interactions with makeup up until this point have gone. If you need something that has really super light pigmentation, I would say go with the light ones. But if you don't normally have problems with pigmentation with blushes, but you like this desaturated look, I just think that the medium ones would be the way to go. And I think maybe that's all of my recommendations when it comes to these. Yeah, I'm really excited to continue playing with all of these. And Hannah, congratulations. Salt New York, thank you so much for sending these to me. And I think that's about it, friends. If you are new to me, I would love for you to stick around, hit the subscribe button. I'm on Patreon and I have channel memberships if you're into that sort of thing, if you want to support me that way. You can find those in the description box down below. Don't forget to check out the pinned comment to support those in need. And I think that's it for me, friends. Remember to follow your haute and you'll find me. And I'll see you in a video very soon. Go forth.